and this involves rear extensions and sharing a wall with neighbours. So, just to keep an eye on things here. I'm going to quickly go into this and give you a bit of background. So, under Section 1 of the Party Wall Act, there are different types of Section 1 notices. There's Section 1.5. Now, this is where you're placing foundations wholly on your land as a building owner. I will go through the terms again, building owner and so forth. Section 1.2 is where you're building on the line of junction. Now, this is where, if we imagine this is a line of junction, we're building the wall over it, so it's shared by two owners, therefore creating a new party wall. Let's get back into this. Now, Section 1.6 does allow you to place footings over, footings on the adjoining owner's land as necessary. Now, this is the element to watch here, as necessary. So not only myself, I've spoken to a number of party wall surveyors, and some of these guys have been in the business almost forever and a day, actually. Because of eccentric footings, there's no time where it'll be necessary to place footings on the adjoining owner's land unless they agree to it. It'll become a trespass. So please don't put footings on your adjoining owner's land. And I know builders love doing it because they think projecting footings are a normal way of building walls, or the previous way is the only way to do it. Just going to run through a line of junction now. There's a difference between a line of junction and a boundary. And this again came across when we did a seminar on boundaries. So this is the boundary, and the boundary stretches from the ground all the way to the top of the sky, to the bottom of the earth, to the center of the earth. There have been some laws adjusted to allow for actually air travel and balloons going overhead, and you do have certain London Underground Acts and Railway Acts, but generally speaking, the airspace to the top of the sky, to the center of the earth, is owned by the property owner. Goes back to the Property Law Act 1925. Now, line of junction as defined by the Party Wall Act is, just making sure I'm sorry, I thought I was muted there. So the line of junction is this little point here where the lands meet, and this is, if you like, a very small, almost infinitesimally small point in the meeting of the lands that's defined as a line of junction. So, as Section 1.5 says, build wholly on the adjoining owner's land. Now, to achieve that, you need to do this sort of arrangement whereby you're doing an eccentric foundation. Now, this is where difference between eccentric and a normal foundation is the eccentric foundation goes to the right, to the edge of where you're building the wall. Now, the engineering guys will explain this better, but to prevent this foundation getting lopsided and rotating, these foundations are usually bigger towards the building owner's side. So in this case, bigger here and deeper here, so that they form what's known as an eccentric foundation, so that the building owner can build right on the assumed boundary, on the line of junction there. Therefore, this comes under notifiable works. And the other thing to note here is there's no overhang in terms of drip from the coping stone or fascia overhanging. So it's almost to the millimeter. Please ensure there's no overhang. Any overhang would become a trespass. So it's not a good idea. And I've been on occasions where this is escalated and gone on and become a boundary dispute. So Section 1.2 is building astride the boundary. Now, what do we mean by that? This is where, when you decide to build an extension and your neighbor says, well, actually, we were thinking of doing the same thing, and why don't we share the wall between us, just to save money? But even more interesting and valuable is a space saving both owners get. So if we assume the average wall is 300 mil with a cavity, you'll end up saving about 150 mil. And if it's a 3-meter extension, why not? But even more important than the space saving is the cost saving. So you get a cost saving, and also beyond that, you build a better building, because there's no space, there's no little ugly gaps for stuff to fall in, cause damp issues, cause maintenance problems. So it's much better to do it that way around, if the owners can agree. Now, this occurs, so obviously, usually in this scenario, one owner is going to build the extension and the other one might do it a year later or sometime in the future, or they're just planning or thinking about it. So one owner will go first, build their extension. The second owner then builds their extension, uses this wall, and it's not really fair on the first owner to pay for that wall and the second owner to use it free. And also the other thing is, it would lead to someone saying, well, you build it first and I'll go second because I've got a free wall. So it doesn't quite work like that, because there's a section in the Party Wall Act, which is known as Section 11, and the correct term for it is make use of costs. But in the industry, it's always referred to as enclosure costs. It's not enclosure costs, because theoretically you can make use of a wall without enclosing upon it. And that's where the difference of make use of costs are and enclosure costs. That's why there's a difference in terminology. And the guys that are referring to enclosure costs are referring to it from the old Party Wall Act, 1939. And if you'd like to know where the relationship between the Party Wall Act, the Party Wall Act 1996 and the London Building Act 1939, watch one of my previous videos, it's on there. It's about the history of the Act.